Hello everybody. It's Jessica Collins here from forestbathingcentral.com. And as the title suggests, I am going to be talking today about forest bathing in the winter. And as you can see, that's what I'm doing right now. I am in a little section of woods owned by one of our local schools, and I am just out here really enjoying the day. It's above freezing right now where I live, and so when it's like this, it's days like this that you just got to get outside. So that's what I'm doing, which brings me to my first point with forest bathing in the winter is that we still need all the benefits of nature in the winter. It's still so necessary to get outside, enjoy the weather, get sunshine in the winter, vitamin D, just the phytoncides. That's one of my favorite things to do is to find evergreen forests or a stand of evergreen trees, because still in the winter you can still get those essential oils in the air to breathe and feel better, even though it can be uncomfortable. I don't know about you, but where I live, we live in Wisconsin in the US, and it has been a brutal winter, like one of the most brutal we've ever had. So we've had record-breaking snowfall, record-breaking negative temperatures, and record-breaking numbers and bad accidents. So we just had like 131 car pileup on one of our main highways, which my daughter was in. She's okay. Everybody in the car was okay, but that was the biggest accident in our state, and it was directly related to the weather. So it's just been brutal. And if I didn't make an effort to get outside, and if you don't make the same type of effort to get outside, it can be long. And as much as I like to try to appreciate the winter, it's just not exactly my thing. Now I have a friend in our forest bathing group, you know who you are, hi, who loves winter. And I am trying to take note from her and just, try to appreciate some things about the winter and try to appreciate the winter. And I do appreciate days like this where it's at least not so bitter cold that we can enjoy. I've got a branch in my head. That we can enjoy the day outside a little bit, and some of the snow melts a little because it's been brutal. I'm ready for like a 50-degree day where we can just go outside and enjoy it with the kids. Not that we don't in the snow. My daughter loves the snow, but anyway, I don't particularly care for it, but I'm trying to appreciate it. So you either have a choice to either hate it or appreciate it, and there's ways to appreciate it, like forest bathing. And the cold can be a factor, but if you're cold when you go outside, you just need to put on a few more layers and you should be fine. If you're not wearing the appropriate clothes, it can be brutal. If you're wearing the appropriate clothes, you put on that extra layer, it can be really a fun experience and be really invigorating. So I encourage you to get outside, get some fresh air, get out into nature like I am today. And so that's why I'm talking about winter forest bathing today. So I'll take you through kind of what I do and some of the benefits of forest bathing in the winter. Well, we already talked about some of them, but one thing that I kind of thought was really cool that I realized about forest bathing in the winter and the forest in the winter is that you can see much further. It's kind of cool because the whole forest is just stripped back to its skeleton. So, like, if I look down into the forest, there was somebody coming. If I look off into the distance that way, I can see almost clear through to where I know there's a field. And in the summer, it's so grown and beautiful, which is awesome that you can't see that. But I love how everything is so stripped back. There's no weeds underneath. Without the leaves, it's not dead. Everything's alive, very much alive, but it's very stripped back. And I appreciate that. And I really like to pay attention to that when I'm out. The other thing is that the deep breaths that you take in the winter are so I don't want to say more cleansing, but they're different than in the summer. So you take a deep breath in the summer, you get that nice, clean, green air, right? But you take a deep breath in the winter and you get like that minty freshness all the way deep into your lungs. Like you can feel, when I take a deep breath in, I can feel that air like at the bottom of my lungs. Like it makes me so aware of like where my lungs are and how open they are. And that type of cleansing breath is so different than in the summer. So it's kind of cool. I really like the juxtaposition of winter and summer forest bathing because it helps you appreciate both. There's things to appreciate about both, and it really gives you a different perspective when you go in each different season. So let's talk about the actual practice of forest bathing in the winter. So before I come out here, typically I will do a threshold exercise, which I've talked about before. So a threshold exercise is just like a ritual or a routine, not woo-woo or anything, just like some kind of ritual you perform before entering the forest. And the reason is to separate your life outside of the forest from your life inside, and your practice, whatever you were doing before, and the practice you're about to do. So it totally changes your mind from one to the other so that you can be focused. So, I might do a few stretches, some breathing. I might do some like twisting and breathing. I call this the Wring-Out, where you just twist using your arms and breathe in and breathe out as you do it. And that sort of warms up your body, limbers you up a little bit, and with the breathing pattern, it gets you just ready to go. So yeah, I like to do some kind of exercise. The next thing I would say is to make sure that you warm up before you go out. Like I said, make sure you're wearing enough clothes that you're not cold, because still being cold is a sign that you're not wearing enough clothes. And as silly as that sounds, like, it's so true. And you can forget that when you're just freezing. Well, just put on a little more clothes. So anyway, but once you're standing still and taking in your surroundings, you get really still, and it can be really cold fast. So if you're cold before you even get here, it's not enjoyable. So make sure that you warm up first. And so typically, if you were going forest bathing in the summer, you would just walk into the forest and start forest bathing, where you just don't go far. You're paying attention more to senses than how far you're going. But with winter forest bathing, I would really recommend walking for a while and getting your blood warmed up, just getting to the point where you feel very, very comfortable sitting outside for a while. So I would walk the trails and get nice and warmed up, or perhaps I've done before where I've taught an exercise class and then I go out into the forest, because it feels perfect afterwards. It's the perfect cool down. So anyway, make sure you get warmed up. Make sure you do some type of transition into the forest, and then breathe and get your bearings. So you can do this with your warm-up or with your stretches, your threshold exercise, but I always start forest bathing with breath work and getting my bearings. So, a lot of the focus is on your five senses. So just closing your eyes just to listen, to smell, to taste the air, and then opening your eyes to look around. So you're completely present where you are. You've got your bearings of where you are in space and in the place, and then from there progress to forest bathing. So it's a really good grounding exercise to do things like that. And breath will center you. Take nice deep breaths immediately, your stress will just fall off your body, sometimes in a visceral sense, just like that. But that's also very centering, and it changes you from the sympathetic nervous system over to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the state you want to be in when you go forest bathing. So breath work and grounding are very important, and getting your bearings. So then I might like I said, in winter, I like to find an evergreen. I am standing under an evergreen tree. It's hard to see. You guys are propped up on some little stubby branches that look like they were maybe chopped off. So anyway, that's my makeshift tripod. But if I were to, here, maybe I can do this carefully, send you upward. I am under an evergreen tree, which is the most lively tree. Trees in the winter are going to be your evergreens, your pines, cedars, that kind of thing. So I like to find a stand of those just because they're still green. They're still giving off their essential oils. They still make me think of life. You know, when the whole forest is sort of barren, there is signs of life on an evergreen tree, and I love that. Plus, I love to grab pine needles and just like squeeze and sniff them, so kind of like a scratch and sniff. So you just grab like a needle and scratch your fingernail over it and smell it. I love scratch and sniff in the forest. That's another fun little exercise to do, is to, you know, grab leaves, grab bark or whatever and scratch it a little and then sniff it, because it releases the oils by doing that. So scratch and sniff in the forest, who would have thought? So anyway, I'm getting more into my senses now than I was before. I kind of like to tune in to what's directly around me and then move outward. So I just like to enlarge my sphere of awareness from like right here all the way out into the rest of the forest, and even further if you'd like to. So and as you do that, breathing deeper into the forest. So if that makes sense, it's kind of like an esoteric type of thing to explain, but I think you guys understand. So breathing deeper into the forest, really paying attention to all five senses separately and together. And one more little trick, little exercise I've been exploring lately with my winter forest bathing is the reverse senses. So imagine touching the tree. So I'm going to reach out and touch the tree that you guys are standing on, and I'm really going to feel into it, feel its solidity, its texture, its temperature. There's so many parts of feeling. But then I'm going to imagine the tree feeling me. So what does that tree feel with a warm, soft-ish, my hands are pretty dry, but a warm, soft hand leaning against it? How do you think that feels? Or, okay, I come into an awareness of the temperature on my skin right now. Then I go the opposite way and think about how the air feels with my warm body displacing it, if that makes sense. And then I think about the sounds. There's a crow somewhere. And then I think about the animals hearing me and me talking and that kind of thing. So the reversal of the senses, so how things are sensing me with all their senses. So that's kind of a cool thing that I've been toying with lately that I really enjoy, because it's like a reciprocal relationship, and it really gets you into that state of feeling reciprocal with your surroundings. So I love that. So then after you feel like you've explored enough, you feel like you're ready to go, I like to do another grounding exercise and coming back. If you've been out in your peripheral place where you are, come back into yourself, ground, feel your body weight against the ground, feel your skin, come back to exactly where you are and what's happening right now with you. So come back, maybe close your eyes, and then do an exit ritual, just like you did a threshold exercise. An exit ritual is the same concept, is you're leaving the forest and going back into your regular life. So there needs to be some sort of transition. I mean, I say there needs to be, it doesn't have to be, but it really is a nice way to transition back into your regular life. Because if you go from being all up in your head and all up in the trees right away back to life, it can be jarring. So if just do some type of gentle transition that makes you happy, that brings something of the forest back with you so that it is not so jarring. So perhaps like bless the forest, or take one last deep breath as you take your very last step out of the forest, and then breathe it out as you walk out, and just imagine, take some of what you're feeling with you. Just tune into how you feel right now as you leave the forest and take that with you. So these are my best forest bathing tips for the winter. Well, I mean, I could include more about safety and clothing and all that kind of stuff, but I think you guys are smart enough to get that all on your own. But this was more of like the actual process of forest bathing in the winter. So I hope you've gotten some great lessons out of this, some more ideas for forest bathing, and I hope this motivates you to get outside today. If it's winter where you are, get outside, do some forest bathing, take advantage of the days that are above freezing and get outside. And I will see you next time around. Bye, guys.